This is Thomas from Refined Leadership. I'm at North Ogden and North Carpenter Street in front of the St. John Cantius Church of the Archdiocese of Chicago. And today I'm going to be talking to you about sacrifice. There's sort of this dialogue that's going on in sort of self-development and personal development that, it's not, you shouldn't be thinking about it in terms of sacrifice, you should be thinking about it in terms of investment. And today I'm going to talk to you why that's dead wrong and why sacrifice is actually the correct way of thinking about it. Before moving on, make sure you like and subscribe to this channel for more content like this. Keep up with this journey with me for developing peak performance, effective communication, and advanced leadership. If you haven't already, go to the link in the description to go download the Refined Leadership Blueprint. If you haven't already, just go download it. It's free. It's yours. You could go lock it away, and you could go read it anytime you want and any speed you want to go do. If you've already downloaded it, I encourage you to start looking through that because there's a lot of very useful things in there. It's really just skimming the surface of what I plan to do with this brand and this company. I really want to build the ultimate leader because I don't think we're doing leadership even close to correctly based on what I've seen in my travels around the world and the time and my exposure to some of the best leaders that in existence I've ever seen. I want you to get started on that journey with me to be able to build the life of your own design through the process of effective and refined leadership. So go click that link to go download the Refined Leadership Blueprint. So without further ado, let's talk about sacrifice. I want to drive the point home today that sacrifice is the correct way of thinking about it. It's not investment, it's sacrifice. And I want to drive home the point that sacrifice is not only the means to the end, meaning that, I have to do something tough or I have to give something up for the reward, but rather that sacrifice itself is the reward. So let's think about the ancient historical context of sacrifice. The oldest way I could think of, thinking back to the Roman Catholic Church here, is the story of Abraham and Isaac in the Bible. Abraham is asked by God to bring his son Isaac up the mountain and to essentially slaughter his son, to sacrifice him, just to prove, his dedication to God, which you're thinking like, that's crazy. This is a ridiculous ask for God to go make, which, anytime you read any historical texts, there are different ways we're going to go read the text. I actually outline a couple different ways you could actually read text inside of the Refined Leadership Blueprint. There are times when you should read something literally, and there are times where you should read something in a poetic sense. You could even take the first 7 days for the time it took God to go create the planets. You could literally map that to the epochs of time that it took between creating lightness and dark to actually creating substance, matter, to be able to creating the seas, the creatures there. And then from there evolve the creatures, and then the land creatures, the air creatures, and then eventually human beings, which is exactly how evolution evolved, which means that it may not be a literal telling of what happened, but it is a poetic telling of what happened. And so is this story, the story of Abraham and Isaac. Abraham brings his son up to the top of the mountain, and moments before he goes to sacrifice his son Isaac, an angel stops him and says that, no, you've proven your dedication, and that's sort of, part of the story, that Abraham was willing to do that to go prove his faith. Now, you think, why would anyone go and do that? Like, what is that supposed to mean? What's the poetic meaning behind something like that? And the structure is rather simple, especially if you think back to the derivation of the word sacrifice. It is the same way we talked in the last video about the derivation of the word decision. Decision means to cut something away. You're taking a life path and you're cutting away a different life path so you could walk forward in one direction. With sacrifice, what it means is to make sacred. You make something sacred, you make it holy. It becomes different because you did something in order to go make it holy. So how do you make something holy? You just throw some holy water on it and you go and bless it? No. Maybe from the ancient traditions and the techniques, yes it is. But to make something holy means that suffering was put into it, that there was work that was put in, there was labor that was put into it. Think about anything that carries any sort of value that you possess. Anything in your pocket, from your cell phone, from your wallet, your personal belongings, your keys, anything that you carry in your possession is something that you sacrificed for. You gave something up in order to have the thing that you now have in your possession. You think, oh, how nice would it be if I could just be given those things? Well, think about this. If you were just given these things without you having to go work for it, would you value it the same way? When you start thinking like that, you start to realize that the willingness to make something sacred, by giving up the thing that you want most in the moment for the thing that you want most in the long term, you start to see that you're actually not getting the thing you actually wanted that's valuable, but you're making the thing that you wanted even more valuable because of the work that you put into it. So let me take it in this direction. As far as working for something, I used to put on these performances back in my old music group. You can see I'm a very much a supporter of the arts and sort of a patron of the arts as well, of the Chicago arts initiatives and things like that. But because I know that a lot of my skill sets kind of started when I started playing a musical instrument and when I got involved in musical groups and when I started putting together performances. But what I noticed in particular with all my performances, it was just 1, 2, or maybe even 3 nights where you put on a performance, where I put on a performance, and then basically it was done. The months and months and months of hard work that we put into rehearsals, to coordination, to planning, all the money that we spent, eventually we get our audience shows up, and it's basically the performers versus the audience. The performers, they do their job, they lift up the audience in a way that it couldn't have been done without the hard work that they put it in. And then they all, they stand up and they clap for everyone, and then we all go home and then it's done. So it's like, why do that for such a temporary experience, a temporary phenomenon? It's like, well, we do it because you can't just get up and perform for someone. It's all the work and hard labor and all of the arduous pain and everything and all the coordination that goes into actually creating something that made it so valuable in the first place. If we put even more work and more labor into it, it would have been even more valuable performance because it would have been better, would have been better produced, better, more well rehearsed. All these things get added into these aspects to actually make it better because of the work that we're putting into it. In a weird way, if we had worked more for something, if we had sacrificed more for something, it would have made it more valuable at the end. If you think of it in terms of, we invested our time and efforts into something so we could have even more of something at the end. It's like, no, that's not it. To invest in something means that we're going to expect some compounding returns. No, I'm literally giving something up, some part of myself away to make something else even more valuable. I'm not here to go put it away to go find more of it later. I'm giving one thing, the thing I want most right now, for the thing I want most in the long term. And that is what makes something valuable. So there's almost like this one-to-one correspondence or relationship between the amount of work that you put in, the amount you give up of yourself in order to put into something else. And because you put that work in, it makes it more valuable. It's kind of weird because you would think that, I wish I could just skip to the end, to do the valuable thing. But that's not what a leader does. A leader understands that they give away what they want most in the moment right now to give and to receive what they want most in the long term. They understand, and you should understand this too. You're not sacrificing for the sake of saying like, hey, I just want to give away parts of myself so I could have nothing, I could have less later on. No, we're looking to conduct ourselves in a way that we can have the greatest outcomes over the course of our lives. And we understand that, we're alive for X number of years, and we can give away parts of what we value right now in exchange for things that we want over the course of our whole life. And you have to make that decision on your own. This is important for leadership because as a leader, you have to be able to see the path when other people don't. Everyone is going to want to have the short-term solution. They want the short-term, the easy solution, and they don't want to do the hard thing because the hard thing just feels like that they're losing something. As a leader, you need to be able to convey the vision that what they are doing, the hard work that they're putting into the project that you are coordinating all of them together to go do, is actually not going to make a better outcome, but is going to make their lives better at the end as a result, even better because they put the work in. They need to understand that they're making something special, that if it wasn't hard in the first place, it wouldn't be valuable, that you want it to be hard. You want it to be difficult because you get to experience the greatness and the beauty that comes from actually playing around with all these different structures, with playing around with all these different, just everything that it takes to go make something beautiful. The true dedication someone can give to something that makes something beautiful, you can't really know what that is until you've done it at least once. And that's why you're the leader, is because you've done this before and you understand that phenomenon. Other people don't. You have to show it to them. You have to prove it to them because you can't just tell people something sometimes. You actually have to lead them on that pathway. And that is what the leader does. So I really want you to think about sacrifice as being the correct model. It is really the poetic object of the myth that professors like Joseph Campbell or Jordan Peterson really outlined, is that it's the myth and the structure that says that sacrifice says that I want to give away the thing I want most now in exchange for the thing that I want most in the long term. So be mindful about how you use the word sacrifice and think, I want to go and not give something up, but I want to make something to require me sacrificing something of myself or of the team so that I and we can have something greater in the longer term. So when it comes to sacrifice, that's it for today. I have this interesting test I've always used with my clients to talk about assertiveness, because when you're dealing with others, you are going to have to still be assertive. I have my whole video talking about being firm and assertive, but I have a very interesting test. I call it the bear test. Many of you might know what this test is, but next week I'm going to introduce you to the bear test for business assertiveness to figure out exactly what you need to go improve your ability to be assertive in your business and how you conduct yourself with people around you. Stay tuned for next week, and I'll see you then.